Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Param Om Namaste. Welcome back. The beauty, I have to shift to English language again. The weekend talking Portuguese in my classes and then talking with people. So sometimes there's a little confusion in the mind. We are seeing here that in this section of the 6th chapter dedicated to Upasana and Nididhyasana, Swami Krishna, Lord Krishna presents not only the meditation, the nature of Upasana, the nature of Nididhyasana, the pre-disciplines before and during, We went through the entire picture, the entire explanation of how you're going to go and how you begin from, and I have been adding that we better begin from being a Karma Yoga, because without Karma Yoga, Upasana is almost impossible. And then we come to the end, yeah? The end of the road here. He says that, if after everything you have not really had the success in developing a one-pointed mind and expansive mind and pure mind, it means that there are some obstacles. And then he started talking about the obstacles, and he's going to be talking about the remedy to remove or to cancel or to resolve the problem. And we have seen that the obstacles, they basically relate to the gunas, but not entirely, because he presents the mind who is extremely tamasic. A tamasic mind is a huge obstacle, is one of the worst possible conditions. But, and then he presents another one, which is even worse than a tamasic mind, which is a depressed mind, a traumatized mind, which is a traumatized mind, better to say. So the mind is so traumatized that it is frozen, it's paralyzed, and that is even a more difficult condition. So we have a wandering mind, very rajasic, we have a tamasic, we have a paralyzed, traumatized mind. And then the third obstacle is an obstacle that a lot of people believe that, this is not an obstacle, It is a very sattvic mind. Say hi to me, Lynn.
Good day, Arlindo.
Okay, now I have you on my screen.
Okay.
So we have seen that even too much sattvaguna conditioning the mind can become a huge obstacle. So all these imbalance, this can create mental conditions that are presented here as obstacles to the spiritual development. So you don't want to fall asleep. You don't want to be there thinking on how to resolve all your problems once you stand up from meditation. And much less you don't want to be there like a cucumber or like a zucchini, like a vegetable, because your mind is paralyzed. So, and then you don't want to be there enjoying the bliss of sattvaguna, because it's so seductive that it can become even the most difficult obstacle. Because when you get something from something, chances are that you enjoy it so much that you say, that's good enough, I will stay here. I will stay here. But if you are getting suffering, and then it's natural, humans' nature want to remove this suffering element of one's mind, mental condition. So if I'm too rajasic, I experience discomfort. stress, overactivity, mental overactivity during meditation. So it is uncomfortable. If I'm experiencing too much tamas, so as well, it feels I'm stuck, I'm uncomfortable, I don't get anything done, I'm a failure, and so on, A traumatized mind is, it seems to be the worst possible condition. But then when you come to Satvaguna, you are not suffering, you enjoy, you see the trick. You enjoy that state, Mark, you understand? And yet, it's so beautiful and seductive that, you may say, no, it must be the final destination here. That must be my goal, to enjoy this bliss, this peace, this ananda, this inner satisfaction, and so on. But then in some people's mind, which was more or less my case, I was immediately not satisfied with a mental condition that would depend on me sitting in meditation in my room. Because whenever I would stand up to do other things, my mind would become exactly as before, disturbed, concerned, preoccupied, active, wondering, So some people, they are going to suspect that this is not it. This is not it. You understand? And then when you get a book of Vedanta, I got a book of the guru of Nisargadatta Maharaj that explained to me the difference between experience and knowledge. So having seen all these obstacles, we came to today's class, in which Krishna is going back to the last verse, in which Arjuna confessed, so no, my mind is terrible. I can't really do this. I have a wandering mind. I don't seem to be able to see, to develop this vision and understanding of the non-dual nature of the Atma, and so on. So he made a public confession there. So therefore, Arjuna is talking about one main obstacle, which is a wandering mind. He complains, that I cannot do this. I cannot dwell on these teachings during my upasana or nididhyasana, and much less the teaching of the nirguna nature of the Atma is so subtle. It's too difficult for me. I'm not able to do this. So, and then he says, everything else is anathema. The body belongs to the world, mind belongs to the world, and so on. The laws of creation belongs to Mithya world. The laws of karma also belong to Mithya world. And to the Mithya. Everything is Mithya. So I have to do a discrimination between Atma and Anathema, which and I'm supposed to invoke during meditation, the final declaration that I am the Atma, the supreme reality, through dhyana and all those aspects of the nature of meditation. I have to come to the firm understanding after developing a discriminating mind, subtle mind, to the point of understanding with a firm conviction that I am the principle, ever uniform, never changing, always the same, and I'm not subject to time, therefore I'm not subject to the mortality which is law for the physical body. So I'm shifting my identity to that which is my eccentric, intrinsic substantial nature. This is my Chaitanya Svarupa. It is the witness consciousness that witness the body, the mind, the sense organs, and everything. Everything I witness is in change. It's a process. It's a flux of change. I am the only changeless principle. So I have difficult, says Arjuna, to hold on to that teaching. Yeah? So you have taught me well, but it seems that I'm not qualified. I received the teaching from you, Krishna. That's no problem, and I even understand it. My intellect is reasonably okay. And then Swami says, yes, you do not require, nobody requires an extraordinary intellect to receive and understand these Vedantic teachings. Therefore, Arjuna says, so I am intelligent enough to receive these teachings, but I am not intelligent enough to hold this teaching as a fact. They do not remain. This certainty, this conviction is not there. I'm not able to retain. I receive. Reception is there. I have a certain open mind to receive, and I see the logic. Common sense allows me to trust it, but I cannot retain these teachings as a fact so that I can protect during my transactions with this apparent order of reality. Now, that's why Swami says that we divide the students in 3 types based on reception and retention. Now, we divide it Uttama, Madhyama, and Adama. Now, Uttama, the Uttama is said to have both. Now, they have good reception, he receives the teachings and retains the teaching. The teaching is available even during moments of crisis and dramatic crisis. And therefore, he has this immunity, this emotional, mental, psychological strength, balance to handle the crisis of life. Yeah? So why? Because the teaching is available at all times, including especially in those moments that when we need it the most. When there is too much adversity, we have to do like the turtle, that just pull the organs and the head, the mind, to its inner self, and then it feels safe and protected by the teachings, by the knowledge that became a fact. I don't have the capacity to withstand crisis. I don't have the shock absorber, saying Arjuna. But the ultimate is highly qualified students. They have both. They have good reception and good retention capacity. The other extreme is Adama Adhikari. Now, what is this? What is this definition? Is one who does not have either one of those. They don't have good reception, they don't have good retention. So they are not even able to understand the teaching. Those are the people that, they come and they sniff around, they listen a little bit, they have some curiosity, but they cannot really understand the teachings. They are far from understanding the teachings, much less from value and retain these teachings. No reception, what can he retain? If there is no reception, so you're going to retain what? You're going to retain your attitude of rejection of what's being presented to you. And the rejection is not because you are very smart to reject the teachings, but because you are dumb enough not to understand anything that is being displaced. So therefore, Dhamma, Adhikari, is not able to receive the teaching. These kind of students are not Vedantic students because they don't understand anything. But if they would only understand the question of whether retention, retention would be a second question. I understand, but I don't retain, which seems to be the situation of Arjuna. Arjuna presents this description. I know, I understand. So sometimes I feel I have everything, I got it, but then I don't hold it. And then the middle students, the ones in between, is where the large majority of Vedantic students are. Reception is there, they understand, they give the certificate to the teacher. Also, they say, "Oh, teacher, you are wonderful. I understood everything." It's so common. I have in my small role of Vedantic exposure of these teachings. Many times I have got people that prematurely comes and says, "Wow, wow, wow, wow! I understood everything. Now I'm free. I'm good. And you were a wonderful teacher," and so on. And they walk away. Yeah. So they have a reception, but they're not aware that they're not going to retain it later on. You understand? That ignorance is very hardwired and requires a big effort. So the middle one is like that. The lights go on, and they say, "Wow, wow, 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 this is wonderful. I understand. Thank you, thank you, thank you." And then they just go, only to realize that the teaching was not really internalized and retained. And then most of the time they do not come back. They sometimes keep the pretension that they have got it all, and they go through the condition of enlightenment sickness, in the words of James. And one time somebody asked him, "Why you know so much?" Because, I'm an expert. I suffered big time. So this certificate they give to the teacher, and they walk away and say, "You're a wonderful teacher, blah, 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 blah," but only later on. And then he says something here, along with the chapel. What is the chapel? It's a compliment to the teacher. Is that what?
No, I think the chapels are sandals. When you put your sandals on when you leave the meditation hall or when you leave the ashram.
Thank you. Along with the chapel, they leave the satsang hall. They say goodbye to the teacher. He says, "You are a wonderful teacher." And then they take the shoes and sandals, and then as they put the sandals on, the ego comes on, because the ego is not neutralized that easily, Just the light goes on, the ego is going to survive that kind of insight. So the ego is going to survive and come back very strongly, suffering of enlightenment sickness, and he's going to overpower this aham brahmasmi. How so? By superimpose the mind on consciousness, and then you say, "I, the mind, with all my wonderful qualities and glories, just the way I am the powerful, limitless Brahman." The small I overpowers and superimposes itself in the big I, which is free, limitless, infinite consciousness. Arjuna says, "I also come under that middle category. Therefore, my problem is what? I understand, but I do not retain. Therefore, my problem is that retention is there, continued presence of the knowledge, blah, blah, blah. So in meditation, I start with the thought of Vedanta for 2 minutes, and thereafter, I have a word too without any pace expenditure. I have a free ride all over. And all because of what? Yeah. So Arjuna has this part is a little bit difficult for me to understand. This English, Indian English words mixed up with some local language words. Let me see. Arjuna may not have the problem of Laya, or Raza Asavada or anything, his problem is what? Kankad Lattibanama. That's called Rajoguna. Okay, a lot of different words to say that Arjuna is a very fearful person. He's not afraid of death, but because his mind is very active and it wanders all over the place, he's a great general and so on. But because his mind is too overactive, the teaching cannot be retained. So now, this is the problem with Rajoguna. Arjuna does not suffer of excess of Tamoguna, which does not allow the reception to be okay, does not allow the understanding to be okay. Tamoguna makes the mind dumb in a way that the teachings are not understood. Arjuna has enough Sattva Guna, but he has too much Rajoguna. And the problem of Rajoguna is that the mind is jumping from one thing to another, and that does not give time for the teaching to be properly digested, okay? So in order to be digested, you need to soak with the teaching, dwell on the teachings. And if the mind and the lifestyle of the person is too rajasic, this teaching does not sink in. It needs to develop more contemplation, more sattva guna to bring in the qualities of mental contemplation on the teachings. And he expressed his teaching, his problem in the previous verse, and even more clearly now on the verse 34. And what does he say? He said, the mind is indeed fickle, turbulent, powerful, firm. I consider its restraint to be very difficult, like that of the wind. How can you control the wind? So the mind is fickle, turbulent, and powerful. And this firm, I'm not sure what he means about that. It is strong, maybe. It just goes too strong, powerful and strong. I consider the restraint or discipline or mastery of the mind to be almost impossible. So, and this mental problem is also known as hyperactivity, mental activity. It's so intense in my age, and not only in my case, it is the general role he plays as well, which is a very, very active role. That's why once we begin this process, we need to adjust also our lifestyles, abandoning those rules that too active, too hyperactive, too rajasic. We need to somehow change a little bit, adjust our lifestyle so that we can have a more sattvic lifestyle, so that we can develop some mental contemplation capacity. Arjuna described his mind here. The mind is active, fickle, wandering. It's not only turbulent in itself, it makes all the other organs to be turbulent as well. So now Swami presents an insight, a nice insight here, because if the mind is like that, disturbed, unclear, so the sense organs as well, they are dictated by the mind. They are going to be jump into jump into one object of experience to another object. Now, what I hear, what I see, what I touch, what I smell, the sense organs, they are going to go through turbulence or disturbance as well, because the mind is there dictating, integrating, so it churns the entire construct of the body-mind, the entire personality. This word mati Mat is derived from the root mat, or to churn. From that only what comes from the curd churning, mat came. Nowadays, if you say mat, no one understand. The mind not have seen what. Did you understand this Sanskrit passage with mat, matinati, to churn? Has anyone picked up on that?
Well, I looked back in the verse to see where it came in the verse, and it's pramati means turbulent. So what he's saying is just the base of the word is just to churn, basically making everything turbulent.
Okay,
I
what is
understand.
churn? I mean, because I don't remember the meaning of the word churn as well.
Churn is like you churn butter, so you're constantly
Okay.
moving it
Okay,
until it changes form.
makes sense. Okay. Together we managed to infer some passages here. From that, the turbulence comes. From that, curding turbulence came. Nowadays, if you say mat, no one understand. They might not have seen one. So mat is something which I don't know exactly. Mat. It seems there is something that in the old days was called mat. So, but nobody knows what mat is really. From that, mat comes. From that curd churning, mat came. So curd churning, now you get the milk to produce curd. You get mat. Mat again goes to the turbulence that brings about the curd or the butter. Okay. The Bharatanatyam dancers have decided, it seems that thereafter for this mudra, you should not use like this, but as if you switch on the mix for the Tayasanga song, because now everybody uses electrical mix, or else the audience will ask, what is the mudra? Okay, he's using words that have their roots in the past, but now with more technological development, it's difficult for people to understand those expressions, okay? Something on those lines. So mat means churning rod. Mind is like churning rod. Mat is inside the curd. And when you are churning, the whole thing becomes turbulent. Similarly, when the mind is turbulent, it's expressed at the external level as well. Mental fickleness or turbulence expressed even at the verbal language. On the eyes get compromised. The ear gets also affected. When I am emotionally disturbed, the mouth becomes active, and I say things that I would prefer not to have said. When I'm emotionally disturbed, talking mouths or eating mouths can create problems. So people eat or talk or do both at the same time. So verbal activity also gets affected and increases when the mind is disturbed. That's why you can sometimes, on the road, you see sometimes people will be talking on their own. Like in Tiruvannamalai, it was common to see some people, really talking loudly alone, poor people. Bad karma. People will be talking. There's nobody there, but they talk alone because the pressure in the mind is so big that one needs to talk. It's interesting to see that. How many times I saw, especially in India, people walking around talking loudly to themselves, and everybody say, "Oh, it's crazy. This person is crazy," no? And here he says the pressure. The pressure in the mind is so much, that it's like a volcano. Not only it churns but it affects the other sense organs, such as the verbal, the ability to say words. The eyes will also be affected. When you have a disturbed mind, you don't have a clear vision of what's happening, physical visions. The eyes are going to be affected, jumping from here and there, getting distracted. And that's when sometimes we hurt ourselves physically. So, and another one is lack of concentration. I can fix the eye on a particular person, even during conversations, you see that. So I think we all have the experience of meeting someone who is so mentally disturbed that cannot really look at you because it's looking all over the place. No? The eyes are affected. The legs also, people who keeps moving the legs because they are sitting. They walk up and down. Extreme emotions make the body move. You want to think of a solution. Why can't you sit down? Because when the mind is highly active, like the mind of Swami Shimayananda, the leg and the body and the hands move. But we have to discount Swami Paramarthananda because his mind was doing that during his classes. And whatsoever excess of rajas he had was properly backed up by great amount of sattvaguna. So the mind and the sense organs, they are under the influence of excess of rajoguna. Therefore, pramadi means it activates all the organs, just like churning the milk to produce curd. And balavad, it is so powerful, this restlessness of the mind, that even though intellectually you may be able to argue and say, mind, sit quiet, I am your master. Don't worry about the future. Don't be concerned. Don't be preoccupied. It's not going to help. It's not going to change anything. Suppose you are restless, you have to catch a flight or a train, and you are standing in the traffic signal. This is terrible condition when you are stuck in the traffic and you see, I may lose my train, I may lose my flight. No? And then you get so agitated, nothing you can do. And you're stuck in a traffic jam or in a traffic signal. The intellect will say, there is nothing you can do. Relax, mind, and the mind cannot relax. So it is powerless. The intellect became powerless. The mind becomes the master of the intellect. It has even conquered the intellect. In normal course, the mind is supposed to be under the mastery of the intellect, as mentioned in Kathopanishad. Mind is comparable to the reins, and the intellect is compared to the driver. So normally, intellect is more powerful than the mind. But you will find that if the mind is used to certain forms of rajasic thinking, the mind becomes more powerful. That even if you console yourself, you say, Swamiji, I understand that one should not worry, but I can't help because my mind, and I am identified with the mind because the mind has taken mastery over the body-mind-sense complex. No? I even have pain in my stomach. It has affected the entire organism. It's saying, Buck, what to do? I tell you, you are Brahman, I tell you also. No? But the body is under the power, under the tyranny of the mind and its tendencies. Yeah? And you're gonna have a churning in your stomach. Everything is happening. So what's wrong? It conquers my wisdom, my intellect. What I know becomes, meaningless because my mind is not purified enough. I don't have enough sattva guna to make the intellect the master of my body mind. So this knowledge is never firm. I will suffer from concerns, worries, anxiety. So when commentator beautifully says, Sashara, because worrying is a vasana, like initially when I choose to drink a coffee, initially it's my mental, my intellect decision to say, no, I want to drink a coffee. I never had this experience. And I want to try. Everybody tries. I decide to have a drink or two of coffee. If I do not drink coffee the following day, the mind has no problem about that. But if I drink coffee every day, for a period of a few months or something, then the body itself gets used to that. The mind itself gets used to that. Thereafterwards, you decide, I don't want to drink coffee anymore. And the withdrawal symptoms are felt in the entire body level. My son recently stopped taking coffee because he was taking high dose, but extremely high dose to cope with his lifestyle, which is damaging his physical body. And he stopped, and he had several symptoms. Initially, I create, but now it's no more under my control. So initially I decided to experiment with coffee. Now the coffee is my master. Now the mind, the desire, the vasana has mastery over myself, which is the condition of all human beings on different degrees. Our vasanas, somehow they control us. We are governed by our vasanas. The key here is to develop good vasanas, health vasanas, for physical level, mental level, emotional level, intellectual level, good vasanas, because fundamentally we need vasanas to run this instrument of knowledge. So in the beginning, I made some decisions, but then I lost the control. And now my desire for coffee became an addiction. Similarly, certain ways of thinking, initially, we generate, we say, no, I mean, let me think this way, blah, blah, blah. But thereafterwards, the mind knows how to go that road, that groove. And even though you decide, no, it was a mistake to think, and these attitudes that somehow I picked up or I developed subconsciously, they are not serving me. So I want to change. But the mind will not accept that and will continue to do what it is, programmed to do, addicted to do, conditioned to do. This is a particular situation of split personality. Even Vedantin has to go through intellect, telling things not to worry, but mind keeps worrying. And then the Vedantin say, don't worry. The mind say, how can I not worry? I have so many challenges in this meteor world, and you are telling me that it's not really real and that I should put my attention to the scriptures. And no, I'm very much worried. So every Vedantin goes through this struggle as one begins invest more and more time, quality time and energy in this Vedantic process. And this is called orientation or tendencies or vasanas. And the only solution is we have to reorient the mind, reprogram the mind, cultivate new vasanas. This reorientation and conquering the withdrawal system is very painful at the beginning, very painful. One feels helpless, powerless, and a failure. No, I can't help it. I can't help it. Especially if you don't understand the system, Ishvara Jiva, not Ishvara Jiva, the causal, subtle, and the physical, vasanas, and then tendencies, desires, and then words and deeds, which are going to feed into my vasana load. If we don't have that understanding, you feel like a piece of that, because I already told myself never again, I'm still doing it. You understand? And then we start developing a low self-esteem to say, I'm really stupid. Huh? But once you have this picture, you understand how tough this vasana load, these ignorance-based vasanas are hardwired. Yeah? Okay. It's like a person who took cigarettes or drinking alcohol, even though the intellect has decided, I will stop drinking. And it's going to have to go through a painful process in which he's going to have to offer discipline, suppression, depression. Suppression, now here's talk about the depression. The mind is going to be depressed because somehow it was getting a high from that chemical. But the discipline required, as I often say, in order to win over some tyrannic vasanas which are not doing our own interest, we have to go through an incredible process of development of willpower. And as I often say, willpower alone is weak to win over certain vasanas. So we need to have willpower, and then we have to have the knowledge, scripture knowledge, who explains scripture, media knowledge, what is a jiva, and how it operates, how is it moved, why it tends to do things habitually, even though it's causing suffering. So one has to go through a process to understand that human beings are organic biological computers programmed by vasanas. Understanding the system allows us to reprogram our organic biological computer, God-given biological computer. According to Vedanta, all of us are drunk. Not alcohol necessarily, but we are drunk means because of this emotional orientation, we tend to live our life, worrying, fearing, desiring, developing and sustain bad habits. It's almost as if we lost discrimination. It's like a drunk, conducting one's life as if it is addicted to alcohol. And these tendencies cannot be broken suddenly. It's impossible. It requires great discipline, great effort, initiative, planning. Okay, so if I have a problem with alcohol, I have to find an environment in which I'm far away from anybody who is going to invite me to drink a beer or to drink wine. Planning involves quality time to really look, re-examine everything, and to develop a strategy on how to overcome this bad habit. And exactly just as a person with problems with alcohol that went so far to damage the physical body, this person is admitted in the hospital. So mentally, from the mental viewpoint, the hospital is upasana, meditation, scripture, knowledge. We need the knowledge. Knowledge associated with our willpower will overcome these negative tendencies. Only willpower is not going to do it. So you need to identify the problem and being properly medicated. And the medication here is upasana. Upasana and the study of the scripture. And then the patient is going to be the master of all these negative tendencies. So all our fears, our desires, our complex that give rise to anxiety, preoccupation, depression, anger, all of that is going to heal in due time. And know that these things take time. Nobody, I mean, you don't find any other school, a religious, spiritual school, who says things so transparently and openly, upfrontly, like Vedanta. It takes time. This process is painful. The most difficult process is the process of prepping the mind, purifying the mind, refining the mind for self-knowledge, which involves reprogramming our vasana load. This process in the Shastra is called vasana sayaha, purification of one vasanas. And until that comes, mind is firm in its own growth of reacting. Firm means there is a stubbornness in the verse when you say it's firm. The mind is powerful enough to, powerful and firm. No, I don't move, you know. That's my way. That's my attitude. Okay, I don't move. I'm firm. It's not a good firmness. I don't know, but it is a bad one. But it's still hard, stubborn, hard. Even though you decide to stop, mind will heckle at you and will continue to do what it is programmed to do. The mind is hardwired. It appears to be very firm in its position of not accepting any change to the status quo. I moved the text. I don't know. I have read this, the firm. The mind is firm, but I lost it because that reminds me of the form in the verse. Okay, it's a little bit down. Okay. All these things will take time. This process in the scripture is called vasana kisayaha. You remember the meaning of the word kisayaha, Lynn or Mark?
I think it means extinction, or it's like settling that vasana, getting rid of it or replacing it with a better vasana, something like extinction.
Okay. And until that comes, mind is firm in its own growth of reacting mechanically, automatically, according to its negative habits. And then when you see down the road, well, when you see you're already suffering, you're already responding, yeah, compulsively, mechanically, yeah. And then you see, oh my God, I'm getting trouble here. I forgot the teachings. And then I try to remember the Gita class. Okay. And then during the class, he held the knowledge for a few minutes. So he remembered the wisdom 1 minute or 2 minutes he took, depends. Then he said, so what? If you have assimilated the knowledge and then you can just change your pose, your attitude and say, okay, it's just again another ignorance-based tendency, creating some trouble here. So from what to so what, the time distance has to become less and less. And that is directly proportional to the transformation of our vasana load. It requires time, no other way. And therefore, until then, it is Dridaham. The vasanas are firm, they are really, I don't move. And it's hardwired, it's rooted, emotionally rooted in one's personality. And because of this, Arjuna say, Krishna, I can't really win over the mind and its own habitual response. This is too difficult for me. Extremely difficult, like what? Vayaho, Iva. Like controlling the wind, beautiful. So it's as difficult as trying to control the wind, and the power of wind that brings about all these destructions we have seen in the USA, North Carolina, and so on. It's like controlling the wind. Can you stop the mind? You cannot. Just like you can't stop the wind. Similarly, the mind is a subtle, sensitive, powerful instrument. You cannot just order the mind to say, stop worrying, stop feeling jealous, envy, angry, irritable. No? Stop being complaining. No. The mind is a very subtle, sensitive instrument. You cannot just order the mind. You need to educate the mind. And this process of education takes some time. Otherwise, the mind just smiles at you and say, poor guy. He does not know yet that I took over. I am the master here. Therefore, Arjuna says, this is extremely difficult. When I find it difficult, I'm not able to quit with my willpower. I have to admit myself in the institution required. The addiction institution is the purpose of Vedanta. Therefore, I will never quit. Now he says, only the willpower, he's revising that concept that I presented. Only with the willpower, I'm not able to win over the mind and its vasanas. I cannot quit doing that which I'm programmed to, only by willpower. So there is a process that he presents like an institution is required, which is a reprogramming or de-addiction. How I am to cancel my addictions, my tendencies. No? So these institutions are available for people who have problems with alcohol, as we know. Similarly, here also Krishna, Arjuna says, Krishna, you must help me. Take me out of this habitual, emotional, negative, unhealthy tendencies to respond to life. Tell me how I'm going to do that, because alone, without your knowledge and wisdom, I am helpless. And that takes us in the next class of Swami Paramarthananda, in which he's going to do an extensive recap as always. Let's take a quick look here. So as we know, in the beginning of the sixth chapter, Lord Krishna he was discussing the topic of meditation, consisting of 4 parts: the general disciplines required for successful meditation, the specific disciplines. The general discipline is observance of Dharma, like a good karma yoga, a good life. Yeah. So following Dharma, basically. And then success meditation, specific disciplines. So you need to prepare your space, your lifestyle, so that you can begin doing your upasana. And then the process of meditation, which was broken down nicely, that the period of time that you are trying to hold your mind on the object of meditation, the second stage in which you are able to hold your mind, but now your discipline is to keep the mind there. The third one is when the mind becomes more kind of easily focused on your object of meditation. And the last one, which is absorption, as referred as samadhi. And then the third aspect was the benefits of meditation, which is the dhyana pala. Now, the process of meditation, the meditations, the specific and the general disciplines. Now, after complete these 4 stages, Arjuna is raising a question which is regarding, I know, I understood, I heard it, okay? But yet, I can't meditate. So, and then Krishna is giving the diagnosis, presenting and explaining which are the obstacles. And in the case of Arjuna, is excess of Rajoguna. Krishna presents the remedy. Therefore, the present topic is dhyana pratibandha pariharo, obstacles to meditation and the remedy to remove those obstacles. And the obstacle that Arjuna mentions is the wandering rajasic nature of the mind, which is experienced by nearly all of us on different levels, on different stages. Because of the wandering nature of the mind, one is not able to do upasana on any sort of object of upasana, by which I suppose to dwell upon Vedantic teachings when we come to Vedanta, and then it's even a little bit more sophisticated, the object of upasana, even more subtle and difficult, the object of nididhyasana, in which the object is the nirguna atma. I can't dwell on the teaching, says, I don't have enough focusing capacity. Therefore, the mind wanders all over. This nature of the mind of Arjuna is referred to as vikshepa, the wanderness of the mind. And these Arjuna is present on the verse 33 and 34. Arjuna points out that I have got sufficient mental intelligence to listen and to receive the teachings. It's much easier. Some people, they somehow, they need a teacher because the mind develops some one-pointedness by listening to the teacher. But then when the mind has to dwell on the teachings by itself, or even study the teachings printed as a book, the mind tends to be less focused. So Arjuna is saying, I have sufficient mental steadiness to listen to you. And I have no problem with understanding what you're saying. I'm not that stupid. I'm not the third level students. I'm in the middle, the intermediary level. I receive the teachings, I understand, but I cannot retain. And I cannot practice alone because my mind begins wandering. I can have jnana, but jnana nista is impossible for me. A firm, well-established, always available self-knowledge. As long as jnana nista is not there, I have not transformed it has not transformed my personality, and therefore meditation is a must for me, Krishna. But I'm failing, I'm not able to practice meditation. What should I do? And even if I try to discipline and educate and control my mind, I find that it is a slimy thing. If you try to catch a fish, how it will slip away. It's such a peculiar instrument, the mind. I'm not able to really catch hold of it, to discipline it or control it. It is very slippery or slimy. Therefore, I am desperate because I want to be transformed by these teachings. Arjuna begins crying in front of Lord Krishna in this 34th verse, which we were seeing in the last class. He cried, "Hey Krishna, the mind is highly fluid, extrovert, wandering. I am not the master, but I am a slave of the mind. I try to take the mind here and there, but the mind goes wherever it wants to go. It's fluid. It is turbulent and sometimes violent. And it controls all my sense organs, and my sense organs get always, the same negative column. So the disturbance sometimes is so violent that it overflows into my vision, my words, my gestures. The body level is affected by these negative tendencies of my mind. So everything is affected because the mind being my primary instrument, if it's not okay, nothing will be okay. So, and how I'm going to purify, refine, educate, discipline this mind is beyond my understanding. And Krishna already told him, yeah, it's not easy. It's only for rare, brave souls determined to go through this process of reprogramming one's vasana load. I have too much inner disturbance, says Arjuna. This nature of the mind is called pramati, means disturbing. And it has the power to disturb all organs as well, transferring the disturbance from the mind to each one of those sense organs. And to the physical body, the body gets ill due to the disturbance of the mind. Bad attitudes cause disease. When I left the USA, I was inspired by my good doctor, a medical doctor that took a holistic approach, got associated with a guru, which is a Chinese medicine guru doctor. And he told me more than once, stress kills. This restaurant is going to cause you a cancer. You are candidate to have a colon cancer. So these bad attitudes have an impact in the entire organism of the physical body. I want to be the master of my mind, but I have no chance. Only But only when I try to discipline the mind, I come to know that I'm powerless, helpless, hopeless. I am a servant. The mind has full control over my house. Even the intellect is ashamed because it's like a boss who says things, or even a father who wants to educate a child and says, oh, not this one, never again. And then the child repeats the same mistake. Oh, no. And then after some time, the child understood, I have power over my father, and the father just stay quiet and in shame. You cannot say, do not do this or that to the mind. The mind will do what it does. Thus, it's very strong, and I am able to convince and persuade. I'm not able to convince and re-educate my mind. So how are we going to do this? Can you see the difficulty of this process of mental discipline and reorientation, purification, refinement to produce vasana load, which is conducive to self-knowledge and freedom? It's quite a work. And nearly, I mean, it's almost nobody wants to go through this. People do not want to recognize that they need to work on their mind to begin with. And even if they recognize, they don't have the determination to go through this process. So I hope you guys enjoyed this brilliant takes presented by Swami Paramarthananda with my editings. I find them, it's nothing new, but it somehow, it allows us to develop a more clear picture of the entire process and what it takes to really enjoy the fruits of self-knowledge. Okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Tomorrow we have more of the same Gita with Lord Krishna Guru. Namaste. Namaste. Till tomorrow. Krishna
Thanks.
allowing it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Arlindo. Wonderful set, so
Thank you.
bye now.